One place I suppose I've neglected a bit this year in videos is the polytunnel. Better than last year with that early blight. Although the melons are doing what they do best and just dying. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just can't seem to grow melons, guys, at all in this tunnel. I don't understand it. They seem to produce the fruit, the lovely melons, and then they just die off. And then I just get some plants that are just wonderful. And I think, why can't they all be like that? For instance, there's one here. I'll show you in a second. So what I did this year, for a very good reason, was plant this massive understory of basil, 4 or 5 different types of basil, peppermint, what was the other one, thyme, and then we've got all the chilies and things growing in here as well. I did that for one reason, and that was because this time last year this tunnel was completely off limits for me, because it got invaded by harvest mites, berry bugs, chiggers, various names for them, tiny little spiders that lay eggs in the soil, climb up the plants, and when you walk past or touch the plants they jump on you, they climb, get under your clothes where your clothes are tight around your belt, they bite you. The itches on me last for weeks, they drive me absolutely crazy, and itching is so intense. But and we've been reading up on how we can sort of try and get rid of these things. They were originally on the raspberry bed when I first came onto the plot 3 years ago, and to that end I just took the entire raspberry bed out because they were horrible things. But they kind of moved in here last year, so to counteract them or try and stop them in the tracks, I filled it with thyme. Any strong smelling plant or herb, particularly thyme, basil, peppermint, things like that, the berry bugs do not like that. And I don't know if it's that or whether they're just not here this year, but so far, touching wood, I've not been bothered by them. I have had a couple of bites about a month ago, but nothing since then. I'm sure it's down to this basil, guys. But aside from that, I always grow a little bit of basil in the tunnel with the tomatoes, because tomatoes and basil for some reason just grow so well together. They just love each other, tomato and basil. I've not probably been underwatering a bit in here this year, but you can see from the tomatoes I've had to stop almost all of them now. They're getting on for 7-8 foot tall. The fruit is just tremendous. I'll show you some of the fruit in a sec. But other than that, we've got the chilies. I'll show you the Armageddon chilies I'm growing this year. And I think it could be quite funny, because I'm going to get my son and my son-in-law to do a chili chew. see if anyone's brave enough to eat them. I'm not. I'm not. But if they agree to do it, my son-in-law has, and if my son agrees to do it, then I'll video it and you can watch. But they're meant to be as hot, or if not hotter than Carolina Reapers, 1.3 to 7 million Scoville. I'm never going to eat them. But anyway, let's have a look in here. Okay, here we have the Armageddon chilies. So there they are, hiding away. They're a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be. There's an awful lot on this plant. There's loads and loads of them. I've got 4, I think I've got 4 of these Armageddons growing in here. Apparently they have to go red when they're ready, when they're ripe. We're not there yet. Just look at all this basil and peppermint. It just smells, you know, it smells absolutely beautiful in here. It really does. So vibrant. These are the Roma, a couple of Roma at the back here. Already had a huge pickings of tomatoes, more than ever. There's actually tomatoes all over the floor. There's just so many. Those 2 Rosella bushes this year, they have been so productive, the Rosellas. And I didn't think these plants were going to make it, because early on the leaves also went really blotchy. But anyway, they've picked up and they're doing well now. These are the sort of trusses that this Rosella is producing this year. Massive. I keep stopping them. I keep pinching these ends off to stop them growing, because they're putting more fruit out than they're going to be able to ripen now. and they're still pushing trusses out at the top. Trusses are so heavy, they're breaking off here or they're bending at the stem. This plant was on the floor yesterday. It's not going to do well because it had actually snapped the string. It was there was so much. I've taken about 5 or 6 trusses off the plant yesterday that looked just like that. These two here are the San Mazzanos. Again, loaded with fruit. Had pickings of them. 2 of my little tomatoes this year, which I've sort of discovered growing 3 years ago, which were these, which I've called a Teardrop. I never actually grew these from seed. These were a volunteer that came up, which I've saved seed from every year. So that one there is more reminiscent of my Teardrop shape with the pointy bottom on it. That one's changed itself slightly. That one's changed itself slightly into a more rounded tomato. But I am going to show you the latest iteration this year of the Teardrop, which has just changed so much. So that is this year's Teardrop. Wow, look at the difference in shape. So I'll be saving seeds of these. They're a really nice tomato. They're not ultra sweet, but they're very, very tomatoey. They're not bitter at all. They're not acidic. Just a lovely middle of the road tomato. Plus these are also putting out these huge trusses, which again, I just keep stopping the ends because they just keep growing and growing. A lot of fruit already off that little plant. Loads of tomatoes on it this year. These little fellas here are my all-time favourite, Honey Delight. I love these tomatoes so much, I really do. Again, putting out these big trusses, and what these little cherry tomatoes lack in bulk, they sure do make up for in the amount of tomatoes they put out on each plant. Yeah, when you look at those, there's just so many tomatoes being produced on there. Absolutely loaded. Sorry guys, if I call those Honey Delight, I'm wrong. They're honeycomb, I can't remember. These are the Honey Delights growing next to them. So this totally different tomato, the Honey Delight. Nowhere near as sweet as the others, but all the same a really nice tomato, and better than any of the bog standard Gardener's Delight and the Rose Crushes and all the other crushy tomatoes of the world, which to me have just got no taste and very little flavour. These are so much nicer, and they're a nice medium-sized tomato. And then when you want the big guys, you've got these, which are the pork chop. Taken some huge ones out, literally the size of both of my palms, massive. So yeah, another 2 plants here. Again, the stems are snapping, well, bending because there's so much fruit on them. Got another little chili here, although the name of this just escapes me at the moment. If I remember, I will put it on. It's absolutely loaded with little chilies, and they are quite mild. They're not a hot chili. We love these in chili con carnes and other meals. A really, really, really nice flavour, not too hot, just a nice little bit of spice with them. I think I've got 3 of those in here this year. Here I have the other Armageddon. I like growing these, if only to use early on in the year as a defence against whitefly, aphids, things like that. So I just crush these up, make them into a liquid, and just spray them on greenfly and aphids, and it just knocks them down dead. And this guy here is a cayenne pepper. I think I've got 3 cayennes in here today. This is probably the biggest plant. It's had more light, so it's got a lovely amount of cayennes on. I really like them chilies as well, just not too hot. Really nice sort of smoky barbecue flavour to them, cayenne pepper. A little baby cayenne there. When these melons come out, These cairns are just really going to romp up. They'll keep growing for quite a while yet, well into September. Another experiment this year was to plant a butterbean, and all I did it for was simply to see how long butterbeans would grow, because I've got 25, I've got about 33 foot upright and along the tunnel where this plant can grow. Well, the bean is more than halfway along the tunnel now. So it's a good 20 odd feet, 25, getting on for 30 feet going on the tunnel. And then we've got all these masses of butterbeans just hanging alongside the grapes. One thing I am going to do next year is grow another bean at the back just like this, because it's been just amazing at bringing in pollinators. So the bees, these flowers the bean puts out, these just smell so good. And it brings in loads of bees and hoverflies looking for the scent. And on the way, as soon as they get into the tunnel, they are pollinating all the other things in here, like the melons and the tomatoes and the chilies. And yeah, it's been a wonderful year, guys. And we've got my grapevine, which has finally now made it to the front of the tunnel. Absolutely laden with grapes. Difficult to film in here upright, but these bunches of grapes are just hanging the full length of the tunnel. As I say, difficult to film because I haven't got much room. This particular melon is still looking happy and growing, and he's got two really nice little melons there. I don't know what variety they are. I think the Gala, I'm not 100% sure, because I've got one Gala and one Amir, which I didn't bother labelling. But there's two plants here. There's another plant at the back there. Difference is that plant at the back, you can see the leaves, how the leaves are just wilting now and failing. So that one probably isn't even going to ripen the melons that are on the bottom of it. There's one of them, just not big enough at all. It just won't be sweet, that melon inside. Little baby brother there, I may as well take that off now, and just hopefully it might put a bit more energy into trying to ripen that one there. We've got a plant here that's been looking good the last week, but all of a sudden the leaves are starting to droop and wilt a little bit. He's only made this one, which is a Hales Jumbo, I'm pretty sure, but he's possibly not even going to ripen that one. Then we have my favourites here, the Malaga. This was a really good plant up to a week ago, and then it just started to die back. So there's one there which still isn't ready because there's no smell on it, but you can see the way these leaves are going now. There's two more there that don't stand a chance in ripening. There was many melons on this plant, but it just shed them because it couldn't let them grow. And then there's another Malaga behind that one with a really truly beautiful Malaga growing there. That is one of the nicest Malagas I've grown, and I think we will absolutely get that Malaga because this plant is still looking really healthy. Look at these leaves. Yeah, he's looking good. Still got beautiful big leaves, glossy leaves, and he's still growing well. So we will ripen that. There was 2 or 3 more little melons on this plant which I've pulled off because I want to try and at least get that one. A couple more Malagas here, but the plants are virtually dead now. They're not going to ripen those properly. So there'll be melon there, but it won't be as sweet as it could be. Then we have another one here that's totally give up the ghost. It's a shame because he nearly got there with that one. It only needed about 10 days and that would have been ripe. But he has got one there on the floor, which also is not going to make it. Not ready quite yet. I made a mistake really. I should have taken that melon off when it first formed. I should have let it put melons out higher up the plant, because they just seem to do better, the plants, if the melons are higher. So there's a word for you guys if you're growing melons. Take all the melons off up to about 18 inches, 2 foot high, and then let it produce, because you'll just get more of a chance of getting melons. Here you can see from the melon foliage that they're just not happy. There's 3, maybe 4 plants that are still active and thriving, but the rest are a little bit sad. I think somewhere I have got a Hales Jumbo. Yes, I have. I've got a Hales Jumbo in here. There he is. And this plant is still actively growing. Bit of leaf on that. It's not mould or rot or anything. It's just a bit of leaf. Yeah, so we're going to get that Hales Jumbo. Almost 90% certain I'll get that one, because these leaves are still growing. The plant's still okay. And as all the others, I've stripped all the other melons off it to stand a chance of getting that one. So once again, guys, melons started off really good, but as keeps happening, you know, they just sort of give up and fail towards the end of their growing period. I think it's just where we are in the country. I'm a bit far north to be growing melons successfully. We get a few, but not what we like. The one thing I did wrong with the melons this year was I planted them too late. So with last year being so awful, I did plant them early enough in the beginning of March, and then I really had to nurse and coddle them and protect them from that awful weather we had last year. And they got off to a bad start. So this year, thinking we'd either get similar or the same type of weather, I planted them later in April, towards the end of April. And that was just too late, way too late. At one point in May, beginning of June, I was honestly thinking I wasn't going to get any melons because the plants were so thin and spindly. So guys, just get them in early if you live up here, up in the northwest. And nurse and coddle them, you'll have to. Next year, for definite, I'm going to grow I'm growing no more than 9 or 10 melons in this polytunnel. Just one single row on the back side here, and then I'm going to fill the front with chilies probably, and peppers and things like that. And here we have a little grapevine, a junior grapevine. It's a hardwood cutting I took late last year from the vine, and he's growing away strong. He's actually rooted through the bottom of the pot now into the soil, so I'm just going to leave him. I've no room to put another vine in this tunnel, which I'll show you now, so that's going to be a nice little vine for somebody that to have. Let's have a look at all these beautiful bunches of grapes which are growing in the tunnel. This bunch here in particular is really nice. I keep pulling these off, I just can't resist it. And just try them on. So sweet, they're getting better. Every couple of days I try one and they're just getting sweeter and sweeter. They're still not quite ready. What they're doing at the minute is just getting bigger and fatter, which is absolutely amazing. So bunch wise, I have, this is new growth from here to the front this year on the vine, which will be full of fruit next year. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 25 bunches of grapes this year. Once you start pulling these off, you can't stop. Yes, I have 25 bunches of these beautiful grapes in here this year. And I did do a video on pruning and training vines, which I'll put out in a month or two. It's a bit late now, I filmed it early on in the year. But you can see that this vine is not restricting growth of anything else, it's just growing central in the tunnel. It's got these just a few little leaves clustering around each bunch of grapes. There's plenty of light coming past it. So, you know, the way I prune my vine, it means you still get a massive amount of beautiful bunches of grapes and abundant growth on the plant. So we're just waiting for everything to close down now. I would think in a few weeks most of these melons will be coming out. Within 2 weeks, some of these will probably be coming out by the end of the week as these leaves just droop down. The plants here essentially are dead, they're finished, so whatever we have got, we have got. I forgot to show you some sweet peppers. I've got 2 little sweet peppers there, maybe that size, only tiny little plants. But the basil and the thyme and the peppermint have worked wonders in here, I think. I don't know, for keeping these chiggers out or just getting rid of them, because they don't like this sort of vegetation in the ground. And even for no other reason, I'm really happy with that. Well, all that remains now is to keep on picking. Honeycomb. Just eat them like sweets. See how beautiful. If you ever want to grow a tomato that just tastes more tomatoey than tomato and is so sweet it makes your mouth water as soon as you bite into it, honeycomb is the one to grow. Amazing. If I could only grow one tomato, it would be honeycomb, and that says a lot. Right, well, I still plan on growing in the tunnel throughout winter. So we'll be putting lettuce in, lamb's lettuce, winter purslane, other bits and bobs in here. When the melons come out, I'll leave the basil in for as long as I can. I can't put a cover crop in here or grow green manure because I always like to keep things growing in this ground even over winter. So to that end, it gets a really nice thick dressing of compost on this soil and then gets planted into once again. And the worms and soil life will just do the job of pulling that into the ground. But you see, you just can't stop eating them. You came here to have a look at the tunnel, and that's what we've done. So guys, hope your greenhouses and tunnels are doing as well as mine have, because I'm really pleased with this year overall, especially for the tomatoes. Not too bothered about the melons, just as long as I get one, I don't care. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I will see you soon. I am going to get some water in here because it is a bone dry. Incidentally, I think one of our next videos, guys, will be having a look at this corn. It's done. It's ready. You can always tell when corn's ready because it breaks off quite easily. Just snaps off the stem really clean. There is yet another cob. This is the incredible corn. Beautiful. So I'll bring you back and we'll have a look at the corn, guys, particularly the Phragmites corn. I'll just take that one off there. Another beautiful cob. So 2 beautiful cobs there. Yeah, I'll bring you back and show you what I've learned about inoculating this corn with the Phragmites root, if it's made any difference, and if I'll do it again. But all in all, guys, an amazing cropping of corn this year. Far too many for what I need. We have already got 40 cobs in the freezer. I'll probably put another 25-30 in the freezer, then all the rest will be given away, and there's going to be at least 100 more.